In the room. Everybody say hello. Say hi. We're not really sleeping. We're awake. Jasmine, Ben.
I got the back of my head.
Now, here, say hi.
Hello.
See? That's Ben. Okay? Now it's Sarah's turn.
Many people know of the atrocities of the Nazis, but do not know of the same atrocities being committed right now. Nazi eugenicists committed many horrors, and one particular horror is still being committed: selective abortion. Selective abortion is the abortion of disabled fetuses. These abortions are generally chosen by parents who are trying for a child and pregnant by choice. This entails that the abortion of the fetus is only dependent on the normalcy of the child. Often, the reasons of these abortions align with eugenic beliefs of the past. In this speech, I will show that many of the reasons and arguments for the allowance of selective abortion align heavily with eugenic beliefs. Firstly, I would like to discuss the story of Nicolas Peruche from France. Nicolas's mother was at risk for contracting German measles when she was pregnant. She had gone to her doctor asking for an abortion if they found that she had contracted the disease. German measles can cause extreme impairments in the fetuses of pregnant women. The doctors did not find any trace of the disease in her blood work, but when Nicolas was born, it was very evident that he was disabled. After Nicolas was born, his mother sued the hospital for wrongful life and received thousands of dollars. This was the first wrongful life suit in France. Rather, wrongful life suits argue that the healthcare provider's error is responsible for the plaintiff having been born and consequently experiencing the suffering and incurring the expense caused by the impairment. The impairment causes the harm. The wrong is attributed to the birth itself, says Therese Lysalt. The French community was in uproar. Many ethicists believed the suit to promote eugenics, and many people with disabilities were angry and hurt. They felt devalued by the implication of the wrongful life suits. However, other countries had already set laws in place to allow for the selective abortion of disabled fetuses. The Abortion Act of 1967 lays out the still present abortion laws for Great Britain. The section devoted to the abortion of disabled fetuses is Section 11D. This says, subject to the provisions of this section, a person shall not be guilty of an offense under law relating to an abortion when a pregnancy is terminated by a registered medical practitioner if two registered medical practitioners are of the opinion formed in good faith that there is a substantial risk that this child will be born, it would suffer from physical or mental abnormalities as to be seriously handicapped. The Abortion Act of 1967 prohibits the abortion of fetuses over the gestation of 24 weeks. However, this is the only clause in which abortion over 24 weeks is permitted. This small fact goes to show how much less fetuses with disability are considered compared to their unhandicapped counterparts. The protection these fetuses are granted pales in comparison with the protection of normal fetuses, and gives way for more discrimination against people with disabilities. Gunter said it well when he said, selective abortion after prenatal diagnosis is morally problematic as it expresses negative or discriminatory attitudes, not merely about a disabling trait, but about those who carry it. People with disabilities are one of the most marginalized groups in the world. They have been for thousands of years, even before the eugenics movement. These laws only promote more discrimination against them. Advocates of the expressivist argument are currently working to spread awareness that these laws are discriminatory and wrong. The expressivist argument is the belief that selective abortion is morally problematic. It discounts people with disability and depicts them as less than or worthless. Once again, selective abortion only applies to parents who are preparing for a child and choose to have an abortion based off of the child having a disability. Often this happens to fetuses diagnosed with Down syndrome, a genetic disorder causing intellectual and developmental impairment. Down syndrome is not a disorder that can result in death. It simply creates a different environment and learning experience that the child would need. However, when selective abortion is chosen for a fetus with Down syndrome or another disorder, through their action, the parents-to-be are devaluing not only the disability alone, but also existing people with said disability, says Ryan Leduc. Those who believe that selective abortion is acceptable follow the fetal interest argument. The fetal interest argument is the argument that intends to justify laws promoting the death of disabled fetuses by saying that termination actually benefits the disabled fetus by saving it from a life of suffering. This brings up the topic of quality of life. Quality of life is what many advocates of selective abortion use in arguments against the expressivist argument. However, quality of life is morally ambiguous. It is not a foolproof scale to judge the worth of lives off of. In the case of Nicholas Cruch, many people with disabilities said the wrongful life suit was demeaning of them as human persons. Another promoting argument for selective abortion is the public health pluralist model. The public health pluralist model is specific in its aims to reduce the prevalence of disability in the newborn population, says Wilkinson. This is an exact point that many eugenicists used in the mid to late 1900s. These eugenicists wanted to create a master race that was perfect. They excluded people of color, people with mental disorders, people with disabilities. Many of these people were forcefully sterilized or murdered. When the Nazis came to power, those deplorable actions were amplified on a much larger scale. However, many saw these actions as disgusting and wrong. Selective abortion is quite possibly the only standing eugenic policy of the modern world. Kaha says that the most widespread eugenic practice implemented in today's world is the abortions that are decided through prenatal screening techniques. In conclusion, selective abortion has many facets that align with the eugenic beliefs of the Nazis and those before them. Selective abortion is morally problematic, and the laws that allow for it are purposefully ambiguous. It promotes the discrimination against people with disabilities. A disability should never be what a person's value is measured over. As Christians, we are to love all people just as Jesus did. How then can we allow this atrocity to continue? Thank you.
Yay, very nice, Sarah.